got a laugh from it. Well, for former local Brett Priest, those stories helped bring his latest book together. Now living in the Netherlands, I spoke to Brett earlier about his memories of Broken Hill and The Unlucky Sperm, his humorous memoir.
Wonderful memories of Broken Hill, especially outside of the house. Inside the house was a little bit different, but the outside, wow, Broken Hill, I absolutely miss it. I am living on the other side of the world at the moment, but my memories of my childhood, particularly on the outside of my house, being a dancer, learning music and playing in bands and just having great friends, it's absolutely wonderful. And I think the most memorable part of Broken Hill for me is the humour and just laughing with people all the time. And having travelled around the world a lot to different places and living in different countries, humour is really different. And I think Broken Hill has, it's magical in that sense.
Have you stayed in touch with anyone from Broken Hill through social media?
Yes, still do, absolutely. Got lots of friends there and some family, but definitely lots of friends. And I keep in touch with them and hear all the wonderful things that's been going on in that city, how much it's changed over the years, particularly since I grew up there in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. But it's changed a lot, and it's just wonderful hearing all the amazing things that are happening there. I can sense that it still has that magic there that the town always had, which is part of the community, really, the people.
Brett, you're speaking to me from the Netherlands, where you call home now. Tell us how you got from Broken Hill to the Netherlands.
Good question. Well, I actually did go via a few other countries. So when I left at 17, I headed off to the east coast of Australia, which was an amazing experience to go from the desert to the beach, to Byron Bay area, and to have my first mango, first pawpaw. And I think the taste of that gave me a taste of, well, what's beyond here? What's beyond, I've actually got to experience something totally new, saw my first cow. And then I thought, okay, what is beyond this? And so I applied for jobs overseas. I became a teacher. And I moved to Ecuador, and then I taught a couple of years in Japan. And then from Japan, I went to Germany, and I was in Germany for about 10 years. And then I got a job in the Netherlands. And they speak a lot more English here. So I moved over to Amsterdam and ended up marrying a Dutchman. So this has been home for the last 10 years. However, I still try to get back to Broken Hill every year if I can to see my family and friends. But these times it's a little bit harder because of the corona stuff that's going on in the world. It's sad.
I love that you mentioned that you saw your first cow, and that was part of your story of thinking about what was out there in the rest of the world. You are an author as well. Tell us about the latest book that you've produced.
I love writing, and I have published a couple of children's books as well as an educational book, and I've published a play over the years, and they did really well. And then I thought, as a teacher, I've always been telling stories to children and funny stories to them to entertain them. And then I thought, now it's time to write stories for some grown-up kids. And so I thought, okay, I'll write a book about some of the bizarre experiences I had as a child, and because they're funny stories. And I love telling funny stories, and I love entertaining people and making people laugh. So that's how this book came about. However, I thought, how am I going to remember all of these stories? Because I keep telling people overseas and my colleagues and so on about the most amazing experiences I had growing up in the outback of Australia in a mining town. And a lot of people wouldn't believe them. They'd say, really? And I'd say, yeah, sure, this is exactly what happened. And then when I was trying to put the book together, I was really trying to sit down and think of all the memories. And I was so lucky that all the stories that I'd told over the last 10 years to my partner, he actually kept a record of all the stories on his phone. I couldn't believe it, like just the titles of the stories. And then he said to me, well, why don't you write a book about all those bizarre stories that you told me about back home and in Australia? And I said, well, I can't remember them. He said, well, look, I've got them all here on my phone. How easy. I mean, how amazing is that? So I had the frame there, and I just said, give them to me. And all I had to do was just fill in all the gaps.
That is amazing. We all want our partners to listen more. Yours not only listens more, documents everything you say.
Yeah, a bit of a concern actually. I was thinking, what else has he got on that phone? But this is great, and in fact, there's enough on that phone for a sequel, which there will be for sure.
Did you ever question whether your memories of Broken Hill would be worthy of a book? Obviously, we're super entertained by it, but I guess you're looking for a wider market than just country New South Wales.
The thing is that memoirs, it's meant to be a funny memoir. It's not a misery memoir. And so I wanted to write funny stories to entertain people and to make sure that they get a few giggles, especially during this time, where it's quite depressing, it's chaotic around the world with all the things that's going on, lockdowns and so on. And I wanted to also show people that, humour can make life easier, to be able to face adversity with comedy and humour. And so when I was writing these stories, I think people can see a lot of the stories. There's about 20 stories in the book, and they're all different. And so I have been amazed at just how people have resonated with the stories on so many different levels. So, I cover loads of things from, childhood, domestic violence, alcoholism, some really funny things as well, learning the piano, dancing. And so somewhere in the book, people can resonate with it. So that's where I think it might appeal internationally, not just people from my hometown who can probably connect with a lot of the things.
Has it been released? What sort of response have you had so far?
Wonderful. It's been very encouraging and very positive. It was released about a month ago on Amazon and very quickly became a #1 bestseller and #1 new release, which I was so excited about. And then just seeing all the reviews that are on Amazon and they're on different Amazon stores, so you would get a bunch of different reviews on Amazon Australia store to the ones that you would get on the American Amazon store. And I was just watching all the reviews and seeing what people were writing, and that's what was really encouraging was that the fact that it was resonating on so many levels with so many different people. And I thought, wow, some of it really surprised me. And because my goal was to write a book that would entertain people and make people laugh. And then I realized, okay, there's some issues there some social issues that people were really connecting on. It is spreading really well, the word, and thanks to a lot of friends and social media. And also the audiobook comes out, the audiobook version next month. So at the moment, I've got the ebook on Amazon and the print book, and the audiobook version comes out next month. And I'm really excited because I have the talented Miles Pollard, an Australian actor, who's actually performing my book. So people are going to really enjoy that because he just brings the characters alive again. And, is absolutely brilliant.
When did you sort of identify that you had a talent to write in a book form? It's not for everyone.
Well, being a teacher, I think teachers have to be actors and storytellers to keep the children entertained, particularly young children. And so I've been teaching for 30 years, and in the classroom, I'd always wrote stories for kids, or I embellished stories that the kids had traditionally heard just to make them more entertaining or different. And so when I was seeing the reaction of kids, and that was probably the main thing, and I thought, okay, I should start writing some stories and put them down because a lot of the students love them. And then I would also tell stories to people, friends and colleagues, and found that they were laughing and enjoying the stories. And I thought, okay, I love telling stories. I feel I'm a storyteller, and let's start putting it into books so that they can be shared to a wider audience. And so, so I got the children's books done, and then I wrote a play, and that was performed in Amsterdam, and I saw a response to that, and I thought, I'm just going to keep developing this because I really do like writing. And when I see that people respond in a very positive and encouraging way, then I think, okay, there's something there. I love telling stories and people are reacting to it and they're being entertained, and that's the main thing.
Brett, over the past 12 months, Broken Hill's only seen a handful of COVID cases. Tell us about the COVID climate in the Netherlands.
Oh, we're going to end this on a very depressing note. Look, I am so proud of Australia and the way they have dealt with it, and also Broken Hill. Yeah, you guys have really got your act together there. And I think you're lucky because that isolation really helps you. You're able to cut off borders and just keep people socially distanced. But over here, unfortunately in Europe, the borders are all open, so people can keep travelling through and backwards and forwards and so on. And so it's really hard, no matter how many lockdowns you have, there's always movement. And, the numbers are just terrible over here. And so we're doing a lot of distance learning at home with school, and there are a lot of restrictions, curfews. So it's been pretty tough. But at the same time, I think it's the kind of thing, as I said, about in the face of adversity, you have to try and keep positive. You have to try and make the most of the situation. And it's given me a lot of time to write.
Author Brett Priest there, talking about his memoir, The Unlucky Sperm, and by the sounds of it, plenty of stories from Broken Hill growing up in the 60s, 70s and 80s before he decided to see what was on offer on the big wide world. And wasn't that funny? So he headed north, tasted his first mango, saw his first cow and thought, there must be more to life than this. And eventually, after jobs all over Europe, ended up in the Netherlands. He's a teacher, he's a storyteller. He's decided to share his childhood in Broken Hill and some other stories in the book, The Unlucky Sperm. 9 minutes to 11.
ABC Radio South Australia and Broken Hill.